today it's the third training session for the FIN. I wanted to talk about two things actually, but at the same time, I want to do what some of you asked last time during the Coffee Live chat, that we had to always have an open discussion, question and answers. So I decided to divide this session. We will have a training session this Tuesday and then another one next Tuesday. And the second half of the session is going to be just an open discussion, question and answers. So, sharing questions is very good. And one of the things we're going to do also by the end of this session is the questions that you asked last time. Some of them we did not have answers for. As you know, it's the first time here in Fredericton, and we try to have the answers for them, but it's not always the case. So I asked, sometimes people join in the middle. Just give me a sec. Okay. So I got back to the FIN team at the IRCC for answers, and I've got them, so I want to share them with you. So I'm really with the idea of always having an open discussion. It's very helpful. And sometimes you may feel your question is like an obvious one, but it's not, because as you saw, we don't have the answers for it. So that's why it's part one. Part two is going to be next Tuesday. Okay, so I want to know from you, what do you think can be done from now until the application opens? So from today until April 30, that's 22 days now. Last training session, we said it was 44, now it's 22, it's half, we've gone half the way to the application. So what do you think can be done now, in your opinion? You can unmute yourself and speak if there is no, children running about around you, or you can type it in if you feel that it's not that common. So I'd like to hear from you. What do you think can be done now? Tell me.
Mainly prepare for the questions that you would need to be answering for the initial application that you have to file. So
Okay.
basically, try to get them fully answered, as you have mentioned, with the STAR technique. That
Okay.
would be the main focus. Okay. And also to, address all the points related to the job description towards which you're applying. So keeping that in mind, and also, try to get some other interview techniques to learn about them at least. I have a brief idea.
Very good.
That's what I think, at least.
Okay, that's perfect. So we're actually focusing now on the application. We're keeping the interview later on. We have enough time after the application to prepare for the interview. So try to focus your efforts now on the application. Leave the interview a little bit, okay? It's just focus, as you said, on the requirements. Keep it in mind. Try to find what's relevant that you have done. This is what you will be working on, and the questions, of course. Any other suggestions for things that you can be doing now? What do you think? Some people agree with Suhail in his opinion. I'll just log in some people. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a couple of things that we can work. We have already started working on some things, actually two tasks. The first one is your resume, to edit it and tailor it so that it matches the FIN requirements and education. And the second thing, as Suhail said, is working on the practice questions that we post and having your Q&A bank where you copy paste them and start working on answering them using the STAR technique. So these are things that you started, and what I want to say here is that you are not over with it. So even if you had sent me your resume telling I have tailored it, what do you think about it? Is it good now? Yeah, it was good now as you sent it, and I had a look at it and I found that. But still, like I got a phone call from one of you of the candidates on Friday, telling me that, well, after I sent you my resume, I was answering the practice question that you posted this week, and I found that I forgot to add something. So I'll go back to the resume and do that. And this is just perfect. So the more you answer the questions, you will find parts that you have missed, which is normal because you're trying to remember what you have done, but sometimes just, you forget it. So by answering the questions, you'll start to remember. Now we're working on the work experience part. So you can go back to your resume and add whatever you skipped. And then we'll be, while preparing for the interviews, we will be working on behavioral questions that may also give you some good points to add to your resume, so you can still also go back to it. And also in the resume part, one of the things that the questions that were asked, and I sent it to the FIN team regarding the resume, is, as you all know and you have read in the guidelines, that the one you will submit or had submitted in the GC account is not going to be looked at or evaluated by the FIN team. But the question was, is there going to be a place to submit my resume in the application for the FIN? And the answer is actually no. It won't be submitted in the FIN application online. It will be mainly, they will know what's in your resume through the questions. So that's the important part. They want to know 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to ask questions about it and they want their answers. And based on it, they will decide whether or not you can go to the next step. Resumes, they advise you to work on it, tailor it, edit it until further on. I think further on maybe refers to when hiring managers ask for interviews. So that's when you have your resume. So we will keep on working on it throughout the whole process, okay? Same as the questions now, they're more technical. Later on, they're gonna be more based on behavioral questions for the interview. So we will keep on working on these 2 tasks ongoing, okay? What else can be done? There are still 2 more things that can be done. One is today we're going to talk about it, which is listing your achievements. And this is very important. And this is what we're going to talk about in details. And there's another list, but for next time. Okay, so just keep it for now. The list of achievements is essential, is very, very important for you and also for your resume. Okay, so why is it important? Listing your achievements in your resume. We're going to talk now how I want you to do it. I'll just go back one step. How I want you to do it is a list, okay? You either in your Q&A bank or in another document, it's totally up to you, whatever you prefer. Have like a separate page. Now the list of achievements where you start stating them. I prefer that you state it from the most recent to the oldest, and focus on the ones that are required in the FIN category that you're applying for. Okay, don't just, sometimes you've just worked in a lot of places, and it's going to take a lot of time. You can do that certainly later on when you have time, but during these 22 days, I would like you to focus on listing your achievements relevant to the FIN in order from the most recent to the oldest, okay? Why is it important? Because listing your achievements is what really makes a difference, and it highlights the top candidates for any job, okay? Any hiring manager knows the day-to-day tasks that you do in your job. Say, for example, a hiring manager wants, say, for example, administrative clerk. He knows what administrative clerks do on a regular basis. But that's not what he's looking for in your resume. He's looking for, what did you achieve? So what's an achievement? Actually, achievements are things that you created, built, initiated, designed. You took a step forward to enhance your work, okay? And to make things easier for you and the team. You saved money for the company, things that you did, extra step that you took in your work to do it well. This is an achievement. So your achievement usually had a lasting impact, maybe even after you left the company. They still work with it, or with what you did, or as an example, they give it for people to learn from. So, um, uh, so that's an achievement, and it shows the hiring manager when he looks at your resume, your strength and your growth. And for them, you're a strong candidate, because any hiring manager does not just look for a candidate who will just, sit on his desk and do the regular job. He wants someone enthusiastic and has, this energy and how could I say that? He wants to develop. He wants to improve and work in the success of the company, not just do the regular job. So you need to highlight that to them and show that what you did. I'll show you an example, and I want you to pretend that you are the hiring manager now, and you ask for, you have a job opening, and you got from two candidates doing the same job, okay? So they have the same job title, but everyone wrote his own resume. So the first one in his resume, he says, did outbound sales, okay? And the second one wrote in his resume, hit and exceeded department KPIs by 20% for 5 months in a row. They're talking about the same thing, but in different ways. One just stated what he does, and which actually anyone in his role should do, and the other one stated what did he achieve, right? So being able to exceed the KPIs, that percent for that time in a row is something, eye-catching. So this is how you should be trying to restructure your sentences in your resume in order to show your achievements. So where can you do that, and where can you list that in your resume? You can list it in 3 places. You can list it the top part, which is the resume summary, where you give just a brief, a brief summary about your experience, skills, and achievements too. Or you can state it under each job that you did in the work experience. Or if you did this achievement in a project or a volunteer position, you can also state it underneath. Okay. So how to list it? There are 3 parts that would be great if you include in your achievement, if it's possible, because of course each job is different than the other. Sometimes you can include these and sometimes not. So if possible, you should include a time frame, scale, and result. Okay, so the time frame, for example, over what time frame did you do this job, or how many times a week did you do it? You can mention that. An example for over what time frame did you do this job? For example, increase the customer satisfaction rate within 3 months of employment. So when he reads that, wow, okay, in his 3 first months, he was able to do that. That's just wonderful. Or how many times a week? For example, the ones who are like customer service on calls, for example, he talked to over 50 customers on a daily basis. Okay, so when you put a time frame, it makes it more clear for the employer to be able to see how you really did that in a short time. So that's great if you can include a time frame. Second thing you can include is scale, and scale simply means numbers. Okay, so how many people did you manage or work with? what was the budget, how many clients and customers did you work with. That's all scale. So for an example, for people that you manage your work, you can say like that: I manage a team of 5 software engineers. Okay, so you include that to develop so and so. Worked with a team of 6 to create something. Okay. For budgets, people that work in like projects, for example, a program officer, you can use that. Successfully carried out a campaign during that time for a certain budget. So that's also great to include. And last thing, the number of clients and customers, it's good to include the numbers like the previous example to when he received calls for more than 50 clients per day. That's a number that would be great to include in your resume. And the last part, which is always required, is the results. Always positive results give a good impression, okay? So like this one delivered a 1.8 times the ROIs on a total spend of 2,000, okay? So stating your result also as a final step is important. Some achievements you should keep off your resume. Try not to include it. Simply focus on the achievements that you've done at work, okay? So keep off any personal topics, political, religious. That's not something to include in your resume at all. Just what's related to your job, and that's it. Avoid putting any false or exaggerated achievements, because simply when you reach the step when they ask for references, they have the right to check whether what you said is right or not. So if you said, I saved a huge sum of money for the company and stuff like that, so they will ask. And it's going to be really bad if it turned out that you were not saying the truth, right? So keep the numbers and the facts as it is, okay? And last thing not to put on your resume is any sensitive information, any private, in every job there is confidentiality. So do not go through this. If it's a sensitive, like for example, you work with, let's say Service New Brunswick, for example, and within your job you had to deal with other parties that deal with them, it's something that you cannot share. Just keep your words general, okay? If they want to check something like that, then they can check it with them and the references. They can do that if they want to answer, but on your side, stick to that, okay? There are many ways to write your achievements. I've tried to search for some examples in 3 fields: administrative clerk, program officer, and IT. I'll show you the examples I found. These are just to guide you. I don't want you to copy paste anything from it. Just keep it as a guide. Okay, you'll see, for example, as the administrative clerk. These are some examples from the websites, okay, not that I invented them. So you can read them and then see, okay, this one, I've done something similar. So try to rephrase your sentences again with the help of these, just as a guidance. I will share with you the presentation. I'll send it to you by email so you can take your time to read it. And I'll give you a few minutes now to read it too, just in case we open the questions at the end and you want to ask about anything related. So I'll give like a minute or 2 per slide, just we go through it, and then we'll talk about it, okay? As you can see, time frames, scales, right? Results like attain the title Best Employee in 2019. So it's good to try to include these 3 parts of the, of the achievements, okay? For the program officer, there are many examples too. And it's all, as you see, it's always like led something, implemented, developed, directed, improved. So you took a step, right? You did something that wasn't there. So that's an achievement. Okay. And finally, hope you had the time to read it. And for the IT too. Okay, so same thing, improved, consulted, updated, developed. Okay, it's not something that you had in your job description when you joined the company, but it's something that you wanted to do to make work easier for yourself and for the company. Okay, so that's all called the list of achievements. I will share with you through our Facebook page some also useful links that you can read, and maybe you can find something that inspires you too, beside these examples. So that's what I want you to work on this week. My rough plan, so as we said, we have 22 days left until the application. Let me open the calendar and just grab my. So today's 6. So we have, so today's 7. We have 3 more Tuesdays. So what I was thinking about, roughly, I'm going to say with you, hope it works that way, is that the 14th, next Tuesday, we will finish the second part of this presentation and also have an open discussion as usual. And then most probably 21 and 28, I'll keep it for any questions that you have. Anything that you need more practice on, you need more training on, send me an email or on Messenger, on Facebook, any way that you prefer. And we can do that. We can certainly do that. Give more training if you need it. So yeah, that's just roughly, and we can also discuss at the end and see if you have any other opinions or suggestions. I'd be really glad to hear and do it this way. So I think that you have questions on the chat. I'll go through it. And also you can feel free to unmute and ask any questions. First, let's start by the presentation. If you have any questions related to the presentation, we can discuss this first, and then I'll go to the next step where I tell you the answers of the FIN team. Let me check the chat. Okay, so Pradesh, now resumes and answers are critical for this application. Would it now help for participants to have their answers ready and have them vetted by each on the employment coach team for hiring perspective? What you'd be looking for since each of you have different takes on different. Well, as we said, Pradesh, it's really fine with us that you would send either your resume or your questions and answers. You know, if you want to take the opinion of anyone in the team, feel free to do it. You know, you hear me in the presentations, but maybe you want to hear another opinion. Feel free to send to whoever you think could be helpful doing that. It's totally fine, and already people have done that. They have sent to other either to their coaches or to someone else, not even their employment coach, someone else in the team. They want to hear a different opinion too, so feel free to do that, of course. And that's why we're here now for you. And during these days, this is what we want to focus on your application. So it's good to share your questions and answers, your resumes, and to hear opinions in order to, as it's possible that you would get feedback that will help you, right? So certainly do that. If you want to do that, I would advise you to. Okay. Any more questions here?
So I have a question.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
you mentioned that we need to like add figures, numbers, percentage on our resume. So if I am a hiring manager, so I want to know how accurate it is if you add those figures. Like, are you guessing on those numbers, or how do you come up with it? So probably I want some real example, real evidence to show that.
For what there is an echo in your sound, so I'm trying to hear it. For
Okay.
the numbers that you include in your resume, you mean?
Yes. So the numbers you include in the resume.
Yeah.
So what if like how can you defend those numbers? So do we need to give like do we need to prepare some evidence? So we put 10,000. So
Well,
how can I
if
give?
evidence, usually hiring managers are gonna hear what you say and read what you write in your application. And if you reach the stage where, well, you pass everything and they're just finding you the perfect candidate for the job, that's when they ask for references, right?
Mhm.
And that's how they get to know that all what you said and wrote is correct.
Okay.
So they can go back to your previous, whoever you put as a reference, say you put as a reference your previous director. So they go back and ask, well, did he do that? Could you give us more details? What did he do? And how much did he save the company? So that's when they're going to see matching answers or not. So either you said the truth and everything is going fine. So yes, you're the perfect candidate, or you did not, you exaggerated or gave false numbers. So that's when they're gonna just exclude you, because no one wants to hire a dishonest employee, right? So
It means we don't need to come up with the numbers. At least it should be the truth. And yeah.
yeah, always tell the truth, right? If
Mhm.
you have like worked on a project and you know the budget and you know in what time frame did you do it, and how much you saved, or how much you even paid for the budget for the project. If you know it, state it. If you don't know it, just don't.
Better not to, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be true.
And then again, if it's like budget figures, sometimes those will be confidential. So it
Sure,
seems
if
like we need to
any.
be careful as well on how we put those figures or numbers on.
Well, whenever it's confidential, as I said, do not state anything confidential, right? Because even if they reach also the step where they ask the references, it's not going to be a good thing in your side to for the previous employer to know that you gave these numbers. So only state what's okay to be told. Confidential and sensitive matter is not to be included in your resume.
Okay. Mm.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Any more questions about the presentation?
Actually, no. You already given some advice about my resume, so I'm looking on it. I'm working on it. Maybe I'll. In my case, I'll come up with some question in next fin session. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. We'll always, as I said, I'm gonna try always to keep the second half of the session just for open discussions and question answers. So yeah, whenever you're working during the week and you have one, just write them on a draft paper and tell us next time for sure.
Okay. If in case I missed this session or something, I can still email, right?
Yeah,
I can ask
yeah,
you. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And usually questions that are sent by email, I try to share them too with everyone if it's not a case by case one. So if it's a general questions, I try to share it next session too for everyone to benefit from it. But of course, if you are busy at work and you will not be able to join, you can do that anytime.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any more questions? Okay, so I'll go. Okay. From I will go on to the next part now. I'll tell you the answers of the FIN team regarding a quick question before that. Okay. Will this support end on April 30 or will it continue during the 4-day period as well? Or is it a strict no-no? There is no strict no-no, Pradesh, okay? Our support to you is since we did the first information session and until the program this year with the internship ends, and then we will restart with the new candidates. So we're here for you until next year, okay? Whenever you have any problems, contact us. During the 4 days of the application, well, it's going to be Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, which is a weekend. We will try to work out how we're going to do that during the weekend too, because, you know, usually weekends we don't work, but it's a critical time, as you said, and it's important to have support from our side during these days, just in case you face any issues with the application. And we really don't want anyone to you know, miss that part or do it unwell. We want to make sure that you all do it in the right way and that you're confident at the end that, well, okay, I did it, right? So for sure, we're going to be there Thursday, Friday, and I'll get back to you for what exactly are we going to do during the weekend. I can't say something that we haven't yet discussed as a team, but for certainly I'll let you know, Pradesh, okay, and all of you. And our support is not going to end now. So you'll be hearing us and seeing us for a long time until maybe you will tell that's enough. Okay, just I've seen you so much now. So, okay, let's go to the next part. Okay. So from the questions, I think, Chunjin, you're here, right?
Yes.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So regarding your question, okay, they were clear that, you know, you have to go back to the requirements. And in the requirements for the programmer, it states here, you know, the first section, successful completion of 2 years of an acceptable post-secondary educational program in computer science, information technology, information management, or another specialty relevant to the position. So if you could be able to provide answers for the questions that I post on Facebook regarding to the programmers, like if you have experience, you said you have experience in the C language, okay? So do you have experience gathering, analyzing, and documenting IM and IT requirements?
I saw these questions you post. I have, in fact, I have 4 years C programming or software development experience. But it's not exact in IT. I mean that I use these programming in like because my background is engineering.
Yeah.
So I did this for control the motor, the converter or inverter like this. It's also a lot of programming stuff from, I mean, stuff from zero to for me to complete the whole programming, no problem. But it's not exact IT. Is some for control or like how to say this.
Okay, so let me ask you again, Chunjin. So when you found this that I posted, were you able to answer it, or you did not have an answer for it?
For this question, so for the question you just asked, I can only say that what I just talked to you, that I don't have the exact IT experience, but I have a lot of C programming project in engineering experience. That's my answer.
Okay, so are you free after this session? Can I call you?
Sorry?
Are you free after this session? Can I call you after this session?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I'll call you and we're gonna discuss this more. Okay. The second question that was asked, okay, that was case specific, and I got back. There was a question, can we have a demo for the FIN application so that you can practice that? Unfortunately, no demo, because the application is only opening, for these 96 hours, and that's it. They don't have something to show us. But regarding another question, which is related to, it was, there are some positions available on the GC website relative, like you can find administrative and program officer and IT jobs posted now on GC jobs. Would applying to it give us an idea about the FIN? Well, the answer is yes, you're welcome to apply to the GC jobs posted there. You just have to keep in mind that the application process may vary from competition to competition, and they may have different requirements. Like, for example, they will ask to submit your resume and cover letter. But as I explained in this session earlier, this is a step, it's not going to be in the FIN. You will be asked about your resumes later on in the process. So there may be slight differences. However, applying to other jobs posted on the GC jobs can give candidates a good idea of how the online question and answer format is. So if you find that there is a similar field jobs posted, you can try to apply and see, okay? And let us know, how did it go with you? Did you face any problems with it, or was it now clear by now how the questions will be formatted, and how whether it was easy for you to use the STAR technique or not? Okay, so you can do that. The resumes, I've said it, it's going to be asked in a later stage. For the interviews, and there was another question last week about also preparing you for other interview techniques, including the elevator pitch speech. They are focusing more on the STAR technique for the FIN application and the FIN team interview, because as I said, they do not have your resume yet, but they are using these questions to know more about you. They said that when you reach the hiring manager, they may go use different techniques like that, but they want you to focus on the STAR technique, to know it well, to be confident, to speak with it, to write with it. That's the important thing. And last important thing is about your names, okay? When creating your GC jobs account, it's usually there is two spaces, first name and last name. Now, how they want it to be going so that your name is identical in the GC jobs, when you apply to the FIN, remember when you said, when you click on the FIN program to ask for your name exactly as it is on your PR card or your Canadian passport if you're Canadian, and your ISO, which is the MCAF. So it has to match, and it has to match the names that we submit, who are our candidates. So for all of you to know that, and you can go back to your GC account and edit it if it's not done this way, in the part where it says your first name, if your PR card, the PR cards, there is a bold up is the family name, and underneath it's the first name. Some of you have a first name and then middle names. together. So put the first and the middle names all together in the first name slot, and then the last name in the last name. Okay, so include all the names in your PR card or your Canadian passport. First name includes your first name and any middle names included, and last name is for last name. Okay, because this is very important. I'm not sure. Okay, that was a case one. I'll just contact her too to tell her about that. So these are the important answers from the FIN team that I wanted to share with you. I'll go back to the chat. There is a question from Dehan. If you have other questions to practice for the FIN because they're very helpful for us, yes, we do. I'll be posting again before the end of this week, the third practice questions, okay? And I'll keep on posting until the application starts. Marie, my PR card is different from the passport. Which one I need to use? Okay, so Marie, it's you who I just said it's a case one, but if you want me to go through it now, it's okay. So last time you said that you haven't updated your PR card to the married name, and when you created your GC account, it's per your passport, right? So it will not affect your application. That's okay. I'll just need to highlight that for them. So I'll need you to send me maybe by email. Send me by email the name that you used for your GC account, and I will highlight that to them. It's okay. Okay. So I'll be waiting for your email, Mary. Is the answer works fine with you? Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's the answers I want to share with you. So we can go now to the part that we were waiting for, open discussion, question and answers. So feel free to unmute and share with me any suggestions that you have, any questions that you're thinking about. Does anyone of you find or found that you wrote your name wrong in the GC account? Will you need to edit it? Some of you just had the first and last name on your PR card, so I think that was easy. It will not cause any problems. The difficulty will be for the ones who had middle names too, so you have to include it. Yeah. Okay, please, yeah, go back to your GC accounts, double check the names, make sure that it includes all middle names if any is stated on your PR card. Okay. Great. Okay, good. So, any general questions? Any questions that you came up in your mind during this session or you've been thinking of during this week since the previous session? I would like to hear it from you. I only have first and last name on all my documents, so that's perfect. So yeah, that makes it easy for you. Okay. No questions at all? Okay. So do you think it's going to be an easy or a difficult task to start working on listing your achievements for the FIN program? Do you think it's easy? you can think of any? Okay, not easy, but will take some effort. Yeah, it is. You have to just think of it, right? Try to remember what you did, and you know, if you have still a good relationship with anyone in your previous work, so maybe you can even, you know, discuss with them. What do you think? Is there something that I did that, you know, you still use until now, or is it still helpful? You know, you can, if you have a good relationship with them, you can certainly do that too. Okay, Pradesh, I think it's going to be okay. Perfect. That's good to hear. Okay. And last thing, do you like, oh yeah, think of any suggestions for the last 2 Tuesdays? After I said the next training session, I'm gonna train you on something else to work on. But for the last two, would you just want them question answers, open discussion, or do you want more training in anything specific to the application? Freddie says the trick will be, and the hardest thing will be to do, where is it, where did it go? Okay, to do so without saying about it and to say it in short sentences with good impact. Yeah, you're right. But if the same thing, like you want to use it in the STAR technique, then you'll have the freedom to talk about it in details, right? And talk more in details about the action and the result. But just to write it down as if you're writing it in your resume, it has to be, yeah, not that long. Exactly. The challenge would be on transforming these achievements to quantitative measures, especially if we really didn't consider that one day these achievements are. Yeah, well, it is challenging, you know, but we still have time to work on it. So the earlier you start to do it, like from today, you can start and do that. As we said, you may have done a lot of work, you know, in the previous years, but we want to focus now on the ones that you are going to use and that's relevant to the FIN program. So focus on these. And when the application is done, we have a lot of time to prepare for the interviews. During that time, maybe if you want to continue working on the list of achievements for yourself, just to include it later on in any of your resumes when you tailor it, you can do that for sure. Okay. Now focus all your efforts on the FIN. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's challenging. It's gonna take time, but that's why, you know, we're trying to prepare ahead of time. We still have 22 days, which is good. Good to hear that. Okay, any more suggestions, any more questions, please share it with us.
Sorry, Eman, I'm like this out of the topic regarding the GC jobs.
Yep.
So it mentioned there that I need to put the ISO, which is MCOP. So
When you apply for the FIN.
for the FIN, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's not on the GC jobs.
No, I know that you joined this late, Jeff, but on the Facebook page, as I advised you, you will find the video recording of our previous training session, number 2.
Yeah.
If you have the time, I really advise you to go through it. We talked about the FIN application. How is it going to go? How will you apply for the FIN? So it's the first part of the training session. So try to get a few minutes and just go through it. We talked about this part, how you're going to apply, and they're going to ask for your name and for the office.
Okay, sure, sure. I'll look onto that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, I would like to thank you all for participating in this session. As I always say, we're all here for you. Whenever you have any doubts, questions, or anything that crosses your mind about the FIN program, send me an email, or for anyone else in the team, you feel free to send your resumes, your answers for the practice questions, and we'll do all our best to help you out through this process. And we're going to be with you until the end. No worries. We're not going to leave you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Jeff. Nice to see you with us.
Really, yeah. It's my first time and it's really informative. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.